Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining us here on Stream B. Just like you mentioned, Abstract, this is going to be game one of our final day of the group stages, actually. It's Smart Omega on the blue, Fnatic Onic on the red. And I will say, just to start things off, that Omega actually has the easier comp to play on a micro standpoint. Fnatic needs a little bit more finesse because of the way their heroes work. It's a lot of in and out, a lot of skirmishing, but I do feel like their players are capable of doing so.
And of course, one thing that I would want to really take a look at is the fact that gold lane will always be at risk for the side of Roger, especially whenever we are looking at the Julian. You can pretty much expect that the Julian will always want to dip himself into the gold lane as much as possible. And the very fact that Roger got hit by Kyrie that early in the game kinda suggests to me that Jome might not be that used to the timing of a Julian jungle from the opponent side.
And Doryu actually in the areas. Yep, very nice observation there. CW instantly walking back, realizing the timing that this is where the junglers hit level 4. You will likely see a rotation, and Lutpi already notices that there isn't really anything happening down there.
Oh, nice stun coming in from CW, but with Keyboy already jumping in with a nice little stun, as well as the deadly catch. It is going to help them disengage a little bit to get themselves back on track.
This is where Onic wants to secure Turtle and then immediately try to blitz it down as fast as possible. Quite a number of resources were used by Smart Omega earlier, and they can actually see that Chaknu's a little bit behind on EXP because he went up top to try and assist Jome a little bit more. In which case, they can either blitz the objective or try to play even more aggro to invade the enemy jungle.
A Blitzkrieg may actually sound good for them. But for now, it does seem like Smart Omega doesn't want to contest for this turtle and want to allow Bane to take the orange buff as soon as possible first. Both of the junglers are currently at level 5. And one thing, and the other thing that I want to consider again is the very fact that we are looking at a Roger versus a Moskov scenario. And we all know, whenever you put a Roger and a Moskov in the same lane, the Moskov will always be having a field day.
As long as CW positions correctly, then it'll be very difficult for Jome to get on top of him. And Jome is ordinarily okay with this because his goal in this team is usually to try and farm up for late game. But on a Roger, you do want to be able to get a little bit more pressure going straight away.
Keyboy unfortunately wasn't able to land the Jikundo. Chaknu joins into the back, and there is going to be a nice terrify and a 4-man Numenon block. But unfortunately, the follow-up coming from the side of Smart Omega just doesn't seem to quite connect. As such, the Way of the Dragon connects down onto Ryota, giving Kyrie that kill. But before that, we do have Lutpi that manages to get himself the first blood on top of Andoryu. But Jome, after the top lane once again, he tries to go over for the quick little iframe, but that didn't really quite help him get out.
Beautiful rotation timing coming in from Lutpi here. That was actually an insane Numenon Blast landing on 4 members, but the Landshaker hit just in time. And because Smart Omega were still a little bit too behind, they weren't actually able to follow up on a beautiful teamfight setup by Chaknu, thereby giving Onic some additional kills instead. That could have been a really different story if the Lapu Lapu wasn't there in that precise moment.
Eventually, I would say that Smart Omega would want to hold themselves a little bit of a congregation, right? Perhaps get themselves a little bit more engagement onto Fnatic Onic, especially since we have been really asking for aggression for Smart Omega. But thus far, it kind of seems as though it is all passive gameplay.
Yeah, which I don't really like, because Andoryu went for Sky Piercer first item, which I feel like is a bad idea. You're not doing well enough for that.
We definitely want to see him being able to get kills, but Kyrie is the one that is already in the brushes. In the meantime, it is also going to be the Numenon Blast that manages to connect. They've managed to bring Kyrie all the way down to a low amount of HP, but an enhanced sword allows him to get himself a little bit more damage, but not enough healing to really get out of that. As such, Kyrie goes down. The fight prolongs, and Ryota with the Primal Rev, he's just going to be abandoning the Firelight to hope that he will be able to do enough damage. But Lutpi with the Bravest Warriors, he gets himself right out of there as soon as possible, and Ukir hoping that he will be able to get some of these projectiles to even kill Keyboy, but alas, it's not quite enough.
I think Onic's decision to dive that deep was not the best. They got a kill on the Andoryu, which is great, but they also needed to keep a closer eye on Chaknu because these Numenon Blasts are really messing with their positioning, and then they kept trying to force fights. Even Kyrie used Enhanced Sword to do damage rather than escaping when his health was on 10%. He could have definitely gotten out of that. So I don't really feel like Onic needed to give that many kills over, but I think they're still in an okay spot, and hopefully this gives Omega a bit more momentum because they really need it.
I thought that this is actually a very interesting item choice from Kyrie. The very first item, Blood Wings. What did you say of that, Sadafa?
It's for the extra HP, because I think we are looking at Kyrie. He realizes, okay, my team has more than enough damage without me needing to go for something like a Genius Wand straight away. Survivability going to be a lot more important because you have a lot of heroes that can punish dive. Like both the Edith, the Lolita, even the Bane actually can kind of stun you the moment you jump in. So having that additional shielding is a little more value at this stage.
So not go for damage, but perhaps look for growth in the later stages of the game. That seems like something that Fnatic Onic will want to go for. In the meantime, here in the middle lane, Fnatic Onic is just going to be knocking down onto the tier 1 in the middle lane, while Smart Omega looks for alternative trade down in the bottom lane. They left Lutpi all alone to kind of deal with this, but he's hiding inside of the brushes. Doesn't seem like he's too interested in taking a fight until his fellow friend comes in. As you can see, they're pretty much just going to be pushing everyone else away. There's going to be a 4-man stun, allowing Lutpi to actually allow the rest of Fnatic Onic to come straight in, but that doesn't look good at all. The Dominant Blast from Chaknu channels up, but it doesn't have the flicker to flicker in to get everyone stunned up.
I'm liking what we're seeing here. Omega looks like that momentum they got from the earlier fight did actually... Hold on a second here.
Immediately, the Keyboy was hoping that he'll be able to open things up, but it got completely taken out instead.
Onic kind of underestimating their opponents a little bit here, and it is good to see Omega actually making proactive decisions across the map. I get the feeling the coach has talked to these players during the break.
Ukir, HP not looking that healthy, but Lutpi right now, he was hoping that he'll be able to do a little bit more when it comes down to being able to bruise for his team. The rest of the members from Smart Omega is just going to be congregating right here onto the turtle. The Spear of Misery is just going to be landing down. It doesn't seem like it's going to be much of a destruction, but in the meantime, it does seem like Ryota is going to go down before the Earth Shatter is going to be landing on anyone, while the Dominant Blast is only landing on the Kyrie, allowing them to buy a little bit more time before Kyrie deals enough damage. But alas, it is still a 2-man death from the side of Smart Omega.
Yeah, good spacing there from Onic. Smart Omega, again, I do like that they're making these proactive plays. They zone out the turtle pit, get the objective without too much problem. But it was the retreat that they had to be the most careful of, because there's no reason that Onic would stay that long and without trying to mount aggression on the objective if they didn't have a different goal in mind. That which being catching Omega while they're disengaging after claiming the turtle.
Smart Omega seems to like they have been playing disengage for the longest time ever. Like they don't really want to engage on their opponents, or they do not want to go all in, despite their draft requiring them to kind of pop their ultimates and hope for the best. In the meantime, Eternal Guard coming in from Fnatic Onic. Not exactly sure what is the main idea of expending that Eternal Guard. But to be fair, it's only 50 seconds until the Lord appears. So it seems like a statement from Fnatic Onic that we don't want to fight, we want to wait for the Lord.
It can just be used as a measure of scouting to provide vision and make sure that Omega can't go for any aggro. And answer your question about Omega, like it feels weird that they're not trying to catch people because they have a comp where they want to burst their ultimates down. This is a counter-engage composition. They are very good at punishing Onic when they're the ones jumping in and they're waiting for those opportunities. Yes, they could make catches. We don't have to worry too much about that because it's not just Chaknu that can punish engages. It's not just Chaknu that can scout brushes, right? We do actually have Ryota to help do that. Even Andoryu can kind of participate here and there. So, because Chaknu doesn't have to worry about protecting his team, he can do things like that.
Oh, super aggressive. We're just going to be running it down onto Fnatic Onic. And that is going to be the Dominant Blast that lands onto Sans, activates onto the Flicker to ensure that he will be able to put quite a bit of distance from him to the opponents. And Andoryu, though, he did manage to successfully take a kill down to the Lutpi, even though he went for the Bravest Warriors, hoping that he can create even more gap. Keyboy doesn't seem too healthy as well. Fnatic Onic, one by one, is just falling to the hands of Smart Omega, or rather, they are just kind of cycling all these damage.
Was there some miscommunication there? I don't know why CW blinked into his Spear of Destruction when the rest of Onic was running away, but okay, free kill for Omega, free Lord, and that was really nice. Chaknu actually taking the proactive decision to jump in, flicker, Dominant Blast, catch people, and then Omega just collapses. And this is what we want to see. There is adaptation. Omega is realizing that because of the composition and gameplay style of Onic, they don't usually stick together. If you find someone, more often than not, they are alone.
Just from that one fight, that has allowed Smart Omega to almost break even when it comes down to the economical difference. They're only looking at what, close to 1,000 gold deficit, and I'm pretty sure that they will be able to do a lot more from that.
I think they can do a lot more with this. What they have to worry about is Onic is going to adjust a little bit now. You can see that they're actually playing a bit closer together because they realize that Omega is taking advantage of them trying to open up the map individually. So Kibo is trying to bait movement here, which they will.
Moskov is currently at the top lane. As such, Smart Omega understands that if they want to make a move, now's the time. But do note, it is global presence Moskov after all. They're gonna have to really watch out for the Spear of Destruction. In the meantime, Jom really putting himself out there, poking out Keyboy just so that the Lord will be granted a few more hits onto the turret. As such, he's just gonna be running right in. The rest of the members of Smart Omega, they're just waiting and biding their time, while Moskov is just working onto the top lane. This allows Keyboy to jump right in first. He sacrifices himself, allowing that kill. That is going to be a trade between Endoryu as well as Keyboy, but Lutby is going to be the next one onto the chopping block, retaliate with onto Ryota. Yukir, Chakdu, and Jom. They understand that this is not the time for them to continue playing it out, while Moskov, he understands that he wants to join into the fight. Kairi, with a quick little enhanced chain, hoping that he will be able to do enough. Chakdu activates the bulwark, allowing himself to run a little bit further, but CW doesn't seem like he really wants to let him get away.
Onic is attempting to break tempo from Smart Omega. You can see that they're experimenting with different timings of taking engagements because they realize that Omega is uncharacteristically looking for fights themselves. They were trying to bait movement, which they did, weren't quite prepared for how deep Omega might dive in, but then instantly adjusted to try and retake the fight when Omega had already used multiple resources. Omega still has an advantage here, even though the net worth isn't quite in their favor, but they need to make sure they are ready for further adjustments, because if they keep trying to go for the same strategy, that is what is going to bite them in the butt.
In fact, biting them on the rear is something that I believe that Fnatic Onic would want to do, because it has been, I think, in the past 2 or 3 team fights whereby Smart Omega has quite literally been sticking together like a glue. But for now, Keyboy immediately with the way out Dragon onto Ryota. That is going to be a big amount, that's going to be a big kill for the side of Fnatic Onic. As such, that is going to be the Numinum Blast from the side of Chaknu, hoping that he will be able to create a little bit more of a diversion onto the side of Fnatic Onic. For Smart Omega going down one after another. CW activates himself and being able to get 2 kills, allowing the rest of Fnatic Onic to wipe out Smart Omega. It does seem like the top lane inhibitor turret is already destroyed, and Smart Omega with no one in around the home.